I feel like there's always like the like every cable or every extra device is involved is like one more complicate potential complication waiting to happen.
It is, and I'm very good at breaking stuff. Like I actually broke my headphone port in in my DJ controller the other day.
Oh
Uh,
no. One
I
of mine is also broken. It's like twisted to the side a bit.
Yeah, that happened to mine, and then it's just like I'm having to practice mixing without headphones, or like having to put the headphone in and then like push it up when I'm trying to like beat
Yeah,
match.
like sort of wiggle it in. That's stressful though.
But everyone tells me like that's great experience when you actually deal with studio equipment because there's a lot of times where it doesn't work properly.
Yeah, true. Although I would say if the headphones aren't working, that's like maybe you don't have to play the gig then,
Yeah.
like I think that's like a bit like too much to ask of a DJ. Fair enough. Like if there's like one button on the CDJ that doesn't work, like
Mm.
maybe it's okay, but headphones is kind of essential.
I know, yeah, it's pretty much the most important thing to actually mix.
Yeah.
Uh, cool. So I'm looking through my things. Okay, all of that's done. So in terms of starting, I always I always do this thing where I start the podcast and introduce you and say that it's not like we haven't been talking for half an hour. But I think people are getting tired of that joke because I say it. I've said it like every episode like since I started.
I
I'll,
didn't even notice.
yeah, my just nerdy sense of humor.
Mm.
But cool, you ready to start, or you want a few minutes?
Yeah, I'm all good.
Cool. So yeah, the starting part is always weird, but hey, how's it going? It's not like I've been talking to you for half an hour because that never happens before I start recording with anyone. But how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Nice to see you and talk to you.
Yeah, nice to see you again.
Mm.
So like just for context for the audience, so Ina is someone who, like a lot of people in the podcast, does have a day job but is also in the world of music. And so Ina, just take it away. Who are you? What do you do inside of work? What do you do outside of work? What do you regard as work? I guess it's different for everyone. But yeah, tell us a bit about yourself.
Oh, that's a good question. What do you regard as work?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm Ina. I'm a DJ and a writer, based in Amsterdam, where I also co-run a DJ collective called Levi. I do online radio on the side, and I have a day job in a tech company as well for
nice.
part of the week. Yeah.
Short and sweet. I like that. Um, and so, like, what is your day job? How long have you been doing it for? Like, how did you get into it?
I at the moment I'm a UX writer, so I work in user experience in a tech company where I'm just part of a team that looks after like the app and the website that we run. And I actually got into that sort of via um, yeah, kind of I guess a weird kind of sequence of I when I studied, I did music journalism
Yeah.
after graduating or during my studies as well. And I think that's also why there's always been that connection with doing radio and doing like music related things, like interviewing artists, that kind of stuff. That was always like a big interest of mine. And then I think, yeah, I was just at some point in my career realizing that like being a journalist really doesn't pay well, especially when it's like something related to arts and culture, because that's always underfunded. And then I sort of made the move over to the dark side, let's say, started working in advertising, branding, marketing, and then kind of slipped into the whole tech thing. And yeah, found that really interesting as well. I guess it's creative in a different way. So maybe not creative through the writing itself, but creative through problem solving. And yeah, that's how I ended up there, I guess.
Nice. I always find like quite often I meet creatives doing similar stuff to what we do who work in marketing, and I actually feel it gives you so many like good transferable skills that can come so in handy, like whether it's, I don't know, graphic design for social media or just understanding like reach and audience. Yeah, don't know where I was going with that, but
True, true. Yeah, I think, I mean, to be honest, I think the self promotion and like marketing side of being an artist is the part that I enjoy the least.
yeah,
I find it really hard. It's like it's hard to do it and like really kind of, sell yourself and your work as an artist, but also like stay true to yourself. And, not everyone's like kind of naturally drawn to doing like TikTok or Instagram reels. And some people are, and they're really good at it, and that's great. But um, yeah, I think as a writer, I'm more from like coming from the introverted side of that.
yeah.
But it definitely helps. Like for our DJ collective, I do a lot of like our social media and the branding and like everything that needs to be written. So yeah, definitely some transferable skills there. And I think creative muscles, like they can be, you can like practice your creativity in so many different ways and do, like you can do like physics, like make art, you can do music, you can write, you can,
Mm,
yeah, like creative problem solving, like all of that kind of trained your creative muscles. And then, you can use that for whatever you want to. So yeah,
yeah.
just I think doing lots of different things does have an advantage, even though it can be a bit tiring sometimes.
Absolutely, the artist's problem is getting sleep and not being so tired, but
Yeah.
it's better than the other way around. I think the other way around of not doing the arts. uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but like, so you said you do writing and you've done journalism as well. Like, was what sort of journalism was that? Was it music related journalism or yeah? Just tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of started out like when I was still in university, I guess. It's kind of not so common to study journalism anyways, I would say. I studied in Sheffield in the UK, and they have like the best journalism program in the country. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go there and do that. But there's also so many people who kind of just start doing that by like learning on the job or through work experience, so there's there were some things that were like really useful to learn in the studies, but kind of the whole time along we were all doing different like work experiences, internships, like doing side jobs. Like I think everyone I studied with, like this was 10 years ago, like everyone had a blog, like that kind of
Wow.
stuff. And yeah, I just started like, I guess, volunteering at local magazines in Sheffield, like online music magazines, pitching stuff to like websites and magazines like back home in Berlin, where I'm from.
Mm.
And it's just like this kind of thing where you like, no one will like no one will go out of their way to like give you a job to like go and interview some like sick artist. But it's like if you can get the interview somehow and like then write it all up and then you just pitch it to places, and then that's kind of how it works. Like I remember when I was in uni, this was when the debut album of King Cruel came out, and we see like amazing artists. I was like obsessed. He played a gig in Sheffield in this pub that was also like a nighttime venue, and it was sold out. But I kind of figured like I can go to this local magazine, get them to like convince them to basically give me press accreditation, or give me like the okay to apply for press accreditation for the gig. Go there, write a review of the gig, try and get an interview with the artist, and then like pitch that back to the magazine.
Yeah.
And I managed to somehow like wangle an interview with King Cruel because no one, like he was just chilling by the bar before the
Mm.
gig. No one knew. I don't know if people didn't know who he was because he has such a distinct appearance that like of course you
Yeah.
would know, but no one was really paying attention because they were all so busy trying to get like a spot at the front of the crowd. And then I just saw him like chilling next to the bar, and I just went up to him and said, hey, I'm a student here, like I'm writing a review about the concert, can we maybe do like a mini interview, just like 10 minutes afterwards. And he was like, sure, no problem. Come find me afterwards. And then after the gig, I like went up to him and we went to his hotel room and just like I don't know, like chatted for like over half an hour. And I just like recorded everything on my phone and brought it back to this like online magazine. Oh, sorry, no, that was like a physical one. And then they just printed it as their cover story. And then for like a month, like everywhere I went in Sheffield, like all the local businesses had like this little magazine with our like interview on the cover, like lying in the windows. And yeah, that was
That's
really exciting.
that's so cool. That's like that's amazing. Like you took the initiative yourself there, and just like how yeah, just incredible, really incredible.
You really have to when you do music journalism. It's like you like have to be so like a go-getter, and it's really not in my nature because I think I can be quite more reserved. But that was like a lesson to learn early. Like if you want something, you have to just go get it.
Yeah, they say like in the north of England, shy barns get out, which means timid children get nothing, which is true.
I love that.
Yeah, it's but like yeah, I can imagine like as well when that happened, was the experience a bit scary at the start, or how did you feel going into that?
I think going into an interview with like a new artist is always a bit scary. Because at least for me, it's always been artists that I also like personally or that I look up to. It's I had like a very few amount of experiences where it was just someone that I was like assigned to by a PR agency, and where you're kind of like you can go into interviewer mode and just go through the motions.
Mm,
But obviously, if it's someone that you like really admire yourself, like that's quite scary. But then I think the realization was people can tell quite quickly if you like are really appreciative of their work and their art, and that's usually makes them feel comfortable, and then they kind of like warm up and like relax, and then it's ends up quite often just being like a like super chill
yeah.
conversation, and you just have a laugh, and especially when you have stuff in common about music, like that makes it so much easier then.
Oh, absolutely. Like, kind of rather than I imagine like big artists might quite often feel like, am I being interviewed because this is wants to be part of a piece of something to be sold, or is this someone who's actually interested? And I imagine that line can make it quite difficult for them at the start if they don't know where they stand. Um, but yeah, it reminds me of like a few months ago, I met Mia Koden at Fold when she was going to play a set, and
Oh, sick.
I absolutely bottled it from asking her to come on the podcast because I was very starstruck, and I was just, yeah,
I can imagine. She's a G,
she
absolute legend.
she is the queen right now, just amazing in all the music. But before I start turning this into a Mia Koden podcast once again, or even the music artists I love podcast, which I have a habit of doing,
But I always love when you do that with your guests. Like you just go off on this like fangirling adventure together. It's that's nice,
I
you
know
know.
it's like the last episode I published with Jay Carter. It really had to rein myself in because she knows I want to talk about these artists and she'll push me a bit.
Yeah,
uh,
I was listening to that at home and I was just like agreeing with everything you guys said. I was like, yeah,
yes,
yeah,
it's all true. It's all true.
yeah.
We know
So
everything
it's
about
not bad.
music.
It's not bad. Don't leave it out. Like that's
Nah,
part of it.
it's part of it. It's part of it. But so with journalism, did you continue that when you moved to the Netherlands? Because after you studied, you moved to the Netherlands and never came back, right?
Yeah, I came to the Netherlands around 8 years ago. So before, like when I finished uni, I worked in England for a bit, worked in Spain and France for a bit, and then via Manchester sort of came to Amsterdam. And then went, to be honest, when I first moved here, I didn't really do much in terms of writing. And there was also like a few years where I didn't really do radio anymore because yeah, like new place, trying to figure out like what kind of opportunities are there even here for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so just took some time out of all of that. And then writing, I don't do so much at the moment in like a creative sense. Like that's right now really because it's like my day job. And I when I work like
Mm,
4 days a week, I'm just like in front of the laptop the whole time. And then when I finish work, I just want to like slam that thing shut and not look at a screen, you know. And
Yeah.
I think that's why music is like such a nice sort of distraction, because like when I stand here and I mix or like play my records, I feel like way more, you know, like it's relaxing, it's fun, you're in your space, you're just enjoying yourself. And I really miss that I don't do so much creative writing anymore at the moment, but also
Mm.
the thought of like even in my free time, like sitting at the laptop like really doesn't appeal to me right now.
Yeah, it is one of those things because you work all day just staring at a tiny screen, doing your work, and then a lot of life now, sadly, especially like that marketing side of everything or social media side, which no artists like. I don't know. I haven't really met anyone who likes that side of stuff yet.
Yeah.
Um, but that can be quite. I often quite feel put off from that, or I have to really allocate time to doing that because, of course, like putting up this podcast, I have to use a laptop to do it, and I have to,
Yeah.
yeah, I have to stare at a screen again. Um, but yeah, it's just life at the moment. But I totally feel you with that. When you're doing something all day, especially when you said you're writing a lot all day, the last thing you want to do is keep that laptop open and continue after.
Yeah, and I think that's also why I'm so aware of like that I don't really know, like everyone always says like don't you want to do music full time, you know, like is
Mm,
that like your goal that you're working towards? And I, you know, on one hand that sounds like so nice that you could just spend all of your time doing like what you really love like the most, but at the same time I also think what happened with writing is that I that was my biggest passion like since
mm,
I was a kid. Like when I was already like 6 years old, I already knew I wanted to be a writer. You
yeah.
know, like that was just always super clear. And then when I started working, I ended up like monetizing my passion for because it's my job. And now I
Mm,
don't really do that as a passion anymore. And I'm kind of scared sometimes that like if I would only do music, then that's also like monetizing your passion. And it's not like that you're doing it only because you love it so much, but also because you have to make money and like pay your mortgage and
mm,
that kind of stuff. So it's
yeah.
something that I'm really aware of. Um, I don't want to like ruin the best thing in my life.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that because as you said, like when you've got bills to pay, then you might have to do things with music that maybe you didn't want to do, or have to maybe take some shows you don't want to take, or do things a
Yeah,
bit
or just
differently,
being really stressed,
or just
you
yeah,
know, like
mm,
I already get quite nervous and like overthink a lot of things. But like, imagine if like your livelihood depends on it. Like, I think I would be a lot more stressed. Like now, sometimes when I go into a gig where I'm very scared or
mm,
nervous because I just want to do a good job. But then sometimes I also think if you would just mess this up completely, it wouldn't be the end of the world
yeah,
because you would still, you know, everything would go on tomorrow and you're not like going to lose loads of money because of
yeah.
it or something.
Yeah, no, that that is very true. It's very true with it all, to be honest. And I think a balance is like really important. Like I quite often feel that okay, maybe I'd like to be part time in work, to be honest, rather than full time, just to have some extra time to do things. But I feel security in having regular income, where I feel like with the arts I can do everything in the exact way I want to do it because I'm not bound by anything. So
Exactly. Yeah.
it's almost like I can be kind of like a child with it and still just constantly play, which is
You can
nice.
make decisions based on like what you want or what you think is best and not based on money.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
And I think despite all of this, like at the start, I think for lots of artists, you can kind of forget this. Like like when I started the podcast, I definitely felt overwhelmed with things because sometimes with social media you start to feel like that time isn't as long as it is when it's actually really really long, and that you must do stuff quicker, faster, build momentum, all that stuff. Um, so I think that's easy to struggle with. And like, did you I guess to kind of like take it towards your journey now into music, did you feel that at the start, like when you started getting gigs, did it feel a bit pressured and you worried a bit in terms of the future and all that?
To be honest, I think like I had like a pretty like slow and steady start in the last few years. Like I picked up DJing in COVID, like
Mm.
so many other people.
Yep.
You're like bored at home, the clubs are closed, and then you're like, okay, now's the time. Like, how the hell do techniques work? And like, how do I play my records and that kind of stuff? Um, and then kind of just started like playing my way around Amsterdam and bars. Started like when I got a bit more confident, like putting on small nights with my friends, and we made our DJ collective Lavai. Um, and then we were just kind of doing that for like a few years, and it was like pretty low key, pretty
Mm.
chill. And then I think like in the last year, maybe, yeah, year and a half was like kind of when I just started to put a lot more effort into it. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm just gonna like really go for this and like
Mm.
see where it goes. Um, and then that was kind of where, once you take like a step up to like the next sort of level, you're like so out of your comfort zone. But that's like the way that you grow, right? So
Yeah.
you all of a sudden you're playing like clubs instead of bars, and or like you do like more well-known radio stations and that kind of stuff, or people invite you to their nights, and then of course there's way more pressure involved because um you don't want to let people down, you want to do a good job. And I think for me, I was always just really trying to like make myself happy and like feel like proud of myself. And
Mm.
like I'm a Virgo and a perfectionist, so this is hard. Um, but that was definitely like sometimes a bit nerve wracking.
Yeah.
And I think I've gone through this a few times now where I felt like, okay, this is like the next step up. And then you go from being like super confident and comfortable because you're like at the like, let's say like peak of your game in like a certain setting and environment. And then you like when you level up and do like bigger events and stuff, then all of a sudden you're 100% out of your comfort zone again. You're
Mm.
like at the bottom of this mountain that you're trying to climb. And so I feel like I've gone through that a few times now where there's phases where I feel really confident and I'm like, this is good. And then, for example, I think, okay, I want to play more bass music that's like
Mm.
more deconstructed and not like only 4x4 stuff. And then that's like so much harder all of a sudden, where I got really into like playing jungle out this year. And then,
Mm.
but I didn't really know how to mix jungle when I started. And it's like, I could keep it easy and just keep doing what I'm doing. But I think it's like, for me, that's always like a byproduct of discovering new music, going to more events, exploring like different festivals, getting
Mm.
to know new artists. Like you're always learning and you're always gonna develop. And so that's just there's will always be these moments where it feels really scary. And then you just have to like force yourself to go through it a bit. And then you end up and feeling more comfortable in it again later, kind of. So
Absolutely.
I'm trying to remember that now.
Yeah, and absolutely, and I think when you go through that experience so many times, it kind of helps a bit because you can just tell yourself the next time, okay, it's going to be scary at the start. Let's accept it. That's fine, but you'll come out fine after. But I kind of feel you with you can do the same and it's easy and it's safe and whatever. But I think easy can be very boring. I don't know. I think like the act of always learning new skills or doing things differently is what keeps it exciting, doesn't it?
For sure. Yeah, I think so too. And I think not everyone thinks like that,
Yeah.
and especially some of the best DJs I know, like skills wise,
Mm.
there are people who aren't really pursuing like a DJ career at all. They're just friends I mix with, and they sometimes play out here in Amsterdam and
Mm.
stuff, but they're like on a like pure like technical like skills level, like they're by far the best.
Yeah.
And but they're just happy doing their own thing, and yeah, I think I feel like I'm quite a curious person, and I always like it always astonishes me how much music is out there
Mm,
still to be discovered. So
I know.
it definitely feels like this never ending but exciting journey. And yeah, I think part of that is like um yeah, pushing yourself. And it's always so easy to say, like when you give advice to a friend and you're like, don't worry, you know, like this will feel supernatural to you at one point. But sometimes I do have these moments like before a really big gig where like there's loads of DJs on the lineup that I really look up to and that,
Mm,
you know, I've seen play at festivals like 10 times or more. And then I'm like the night before sitting here at home, like just doing like some last minute like prep. And then, you know, sometimes you sit there and you're like, why am I doing this to myself? Like,
yeah.
why? It's so scary. And
Mm,
then, but then when you're in the moment and you're playing the gig, you're like, this is why, because it feels sick. And I'm super
yeah.
proud of myself now. But
Yeah. No, I love that. What would you say's been your favorite gig to play? Or actually, two questions: favorite gig you played, favorite lineup to be on.
okay, favorite lineup. I think that's quite easy. It's probably this one.
Ooh.
This was a party in Amsterdam in October, which was co-hosted by Radio Radio, which is a really sick club and radio station,
Yeah.
and also like a local party collective called Kraft und Licht. And I've been going to the Kraft und Licht parties for years. I'm part of the team at Radio Radio at the radio station, so it was like this kind of like funny um, coincidence that they combined to do an event, and I got to do open like one of the floors there. And then yeah, after me it was Jero, Monty DJ, Retro Migration, and Nala Brown, and Identified Patient.
Mm,
They're all absolutely sick. Like seen them play in Amsterdam and like in festivals in Croatia and everywhere, like so many times. Like music wise, skills wise, like people that I just really look up to. So that was just like wild to be there.
no, that's
So that was definitely like the cool one of the coolest lineups, I would say.
that's a
And then
really good lineup. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and it's just like surreal to like see yourself on there, and then you're like, okay, this is happening. I'm not scared at all.
And then
Um,
favorite gig you've played?
favorite gig, I think maybe it like I did a really cool one just last weekend. It was like in this warehouse in Alkmaar, which is like a city like uh, not really anywhere near Amsterdam. Took like an hour to get there on the train, and it was like a combined event of this like local DJ collective which had booked me, and then like this kind of a bit bigger organization that run like techno parties
Mm,
throughout the Netherlands. And so they had like the main room was like techno, like just techno.
yeah.
And then there was like this smaller stage where they just wanted like people who play breaks and like jungle and bass. And they found me on Instagram,
Mm,
and I went there and I kind of didn't know what to expect. I thought like I haven't played crowds outside of Amsterdam in the Netherlands that much.
mhm.
So I didn't know what like if they would be kind of like up for like jungle and you know like, or because it was like so much like, or part a lot of the event was like techno focused. I was like,
Mm,
maybe they'll just be like, we what is this, like we don't like it.
yeah.
So I went in with like a lot of like quite heavy bass music, and then at some point transitioned into like breaks, did a bit of like drum and bass jungle, ended with bass again, I think. But the crowd was incredible. They went along with everything. Like people kept coming up to the decks and like, "What is this? How do you call this?" You know, and just like trying to
Most Dutch
like
thing
get
ever.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's really like nice,
It's
you know, and
nice,
like
yeah, it's
with
nice.
especially nowadays, like a lot of the productions that I'm into, like I find it hard to classify strictly by genre because there's so many different influences going on.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the crowd was amazing. They just went along with everything. Got
Mm,
so many high fives and fist bumps. And then you had to like crawl under the like decks to get out of the booth. And so I was like literally like crawling on the floor. And then when I got up, you're like all of a sudden like in the middle of the crowd.
mm,
And all of the people around me just like cheered and like this woman like lifted me up and they were like, hooray, hooray. And I was like, what is happening? Like, I've never had this kind of reaction or like reception to a DJ set in Amsterdam, but it was quite a small space. So I think it was just like this thing where everyone was like in sync and like really vibing with each other. And yeah, that was amazing.
That sounds sick. Guess I need to check out Alkmaar as well in terms of the rave
Yeah.
scene. But that's awesome. And I guess like one thing I wanted to ask as well. So you've touched a few times about the collective you're part of. Could you just tell me a bit more about it? How did it start? And what's the collective about? Yeah, just whatever you want to say about it, really.
Yeah, sure. The DJ collective is called Lawaai, which is the Dutch word for noise. And it's a Flinta DJ collective. And um, the whole idea behind the name was that we just wanted to make some noise like in the local music scene here in Amsterdam to create more spaces for Flinta artists
Mm,
and yeah, just kind of like, you know, try and change a bit how like it's getting better, but definitely like a few years ago when I started, it was just like so many all male lineups,
mm,
or you have like this token one woman that's doing the opening, or like just like one female artist that's like they like tack on as like a B2B with someone else. And it's such
oh,
a stereotype, but this was happening all the time.
the classic of we're gonna book three females and put them all back to back in the opening slot, which I've seen so
Yeah,
many times.
exactly. That kind of thing. And you know, like people always say, oh, but there's so many female DJs out there now. And it's like there are like, and the, you know, the ones that everyone knows, they've already made it. But the ones
Yeah,
that haven't made it yet that are starting out, like that's really hard, especially when you're in an environment where there's usually more men, like straight men around you, because they sometimes just have more of this like inherent confidence to like put themselves out there. And um like for women and queer people, it's just sometimes a bit harder to like like take up that space and like
mm,
demand that space, you know, especially when you're new to this kind of whole field. And like making art or making music is super vulnerable, I think, also. And so that's kind of hard, or I found it quite hard sometimes. And
mm,
basically when I like found my friends Lan and Lainey, who I made the DJ collective with, we just realized that like when we did stuff together, it was less scary and it was like more fun as well. And you can like try and figure out all these things together. And when something happens that's like a bad experience, you can get over it together. Like one example is like my very first like DJ gig in Amsterdam, like in public, let's say it was in a bar. And while I was playing, like in the middle of my set, the owner of the bar came up to me and was like, "Oh yeah, great music." Blah, blah, blah. And then he like gets out his wallet and just like gets this 50 euro note out and just like hold it out at me. And but I'm like mixing, you know, and like so I
yeah,
was kind of like, and I couldn't tell if it was a joke or not, because
mm,
I just thought like this was like my first gig, but even then I knew that you like are supposed to send an invoice, or if they want to pay you in cash, you know, that would probably happen like afterwards.
yeah.
So he's just standing next to me, and I was so nervous about the whole mixing thing that I couldn't really like figure it out. And I was just looking at him, and I didn't like, obviously, I didn't just go and like take this money out of his hand because it was like, you know, it was just weird. And
Mm.
then I just stared at him and he was like, okay. And then he just like put it back in his wallet and like walked away. And then I never got paid for that gig.
What?
Um, and it was just such a like not nice move.
That's really
And
that's really
it,
weird. Just on so many levels, that's just really fucked.
it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's really like mean and like mainly just unprofessional. But that was like my first gig, and this happened like in the first half of the night. I was supposed to play
Yeah.
for like 4 hours, and then obviously for the whole rest of the night, you're like super insecure. Like my hands were shaking. I was like trying to smile, but like I felt like crying. And
Yeah.
that was, you know, when you have those kinds of experiences, like it's hard to go through that alone. But when you're in a part of a collective or a group of people, it's you can sort of talk about it afterwards. You could like everyone shares their experiences. This kind of stuff happens. Like I've heard the craziest stories of
Mm.
like Flinta artists that we work with, and everyone has like these kind of stories, you know. So it feels good to sort of unite and do stuff together, and then you feel stronger and more confident.
Yeah, that's horrible. That is just genuinely. I just can't imagine as well. Like you're currently in doing the thing that you've been hired to do, and then during, and just like him having the money in his hand, and almost like it's your responsibility to come and grab it, and it's what?
Yeah, I mean, the
Yeah,
funny thing is, like, if this would happen to me now, I would,
mm,
of course, handle it like totally different. And I
yeah,
would probably also go talk to him afterwards and be like, yo, man, that really wasn't cool. And I would feel more in my right to say something about it. But yeah, I was just really
yeah,
insecure and scared and didn't really like, you know, this was like a grown man who'd been
yeah,
running this bar for years. Like, they should know better, I think.
yeah. You were,
Yeah.
and like you and you. This is
Yeah.
like your first time doing things. So I guess like
Yeah.
experiences like this like helped you in terms of like forming this collective. And how long has the collective been running for now?
And we've just celebrated our like 2 year anniversary or birthday. We never know what to call it.
Nice.
And yeah, just last or this, yeah, last week actually. So it's been 2 years, and um it started off with us like just, you know, like the first party I think we did was like a fundraiser for a women's rights organization, where we raised like 1,000 euros for
Cool.
this like women's rights charity. And then but we had so much fun that night that we were like, okay, let's keep going, like let's keep doing this. And in the past 2 years, we did like a lot of events, playing out in bars and clubs in Amsterdam, but also doing a lot of like programming for radio stations. So like just, you know, how in England you have like your NTS and your News Radio and your
Yeah.
Reform Radio and all that. We have so many really great like online radio stations in the Netherlands in loads of different cities.
Mm.
And we did like these, yeah, like themed takeovers, I would say, where we would bring like a roster of female DJs, but then we would also usually what we would do is we would have like we would ask the artists to only play music produced by like women or non-binary people, or you know, like Flinta artists,
Yeah.
and just to kind of like showcase their music and their art and like put that in the spotlight. And that's really cool. If you, you know, like we we did like a International Women's Day takeover on Open Source Radio last year, and it was just 4 hours of like four female DJs playing like their favorite like uh Flinta productions. And that feels like a celebration. And it's, you know, maybe it's more effort to like prep for a set like that, because you're not just filtering your songs by like the sound, but also by like who made it.
Mm.
um but it's a nice exercise in like also making yourself aware of you know, who are the artists that you support with your DJing, and trying to get a better balance, both in terms of you know, having more Flinta artists and
Mm.
also like people of color, and like just like an overall better representation. That's really what we strive for, and what we do it so that people notice, and that hopefully it can like inspire other people, other
Mm.
organizations. um, with Open Source Radio, we had a really good first collab, and they ended up inviting us back this summer to program a whole day of their like festival stage in Nijmegen at this
Mm.
like a the city had like this citywide festival for like a whole week, I think. And we did like one day of programming. And we had only Flinta artists play for like 8 hours or something. And that was just so sick, you know. And then you think like uh it's really it's just fun to give that platform to other people, but
Mm.
also when you're doing it and you look around and you're like, it's just loads of friends having fun, basically.
Nice, nice. Like also a space you can all thrive in together and just enjoyment. Just it sound
Yeah. And especially like what I was saying about that, like the bad experience I had in the bar, that wasn't a safe space. That wasn't a
yeah.
comfortable
No.
environment. And that's why that's also super important for us. That's like the main thing, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And in terms of the collective, like, do you do talks as well or any programs? Or can people join the collective? How does it kind of work in those sort of dynamics?
Yeah, it's very like open and welcoming community, I would say. There's three of us who founded the collective, and we sort of try and run like regular events or radio broadcasts and stuff like that. But the artists we book are always different. We have a lot of like people that we like working with, where we'll ask them back.
Mm.
But it's not like that. It's um, in any way sort of like an exclusive club or something. It's just we're always trying to like find new people to collaborate with,
Yeah.
and the whole I think idea is that like what we would like to do is like slowly grow and grow our network, and then in the end you just have like this badass network of Flinta DJs, not just in
Mm.
the Netherlands, but like we had friends come over from England to play before, and yeah, it's nice to connect people. And some of the people that we booked for like our first events, they hadn't never played out anywhere before.
Mm.
And then after that, after our first event, they like really kept pursuing it, and now they're like regulars in like the different like clubs in the Netherlands. And yeah, that's a really nice
Yeah, it must be.
feeling to like see people do that.
Yeah, it must be like just so rewarding, like to see out of what was created in terms of something you felt that people really needed, given how the music industry is, to then go and see it grow and you give an opportunity to people, people kind of take it and then go on with it. Must be just so rewarding. Sounds lovely. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I think that part is actually I enjoy that, like this feeling of doing something amazing together. To me, that feels like even better than playing like my own DJ sets or like doing like my own Ina DJing thing on the side. Like it's just, yeah, it fills your heart with like love and like happiness. And
yeah,
yeah, it's
oh,
nice.
sounds lovely. Actually, I think I told you the other day I bumped into your old mentor at a dubstep night in London. Sounds similar to what she was telling me with when she teaches people how to DJ, how she likes to go
Oh,
see.
really?
Yeah, she says like
Hmm.
she gets so much joy from like seeing them grow and seeing them go on to do what they do, which I guess includes you as well because you have been smashing it.
Yeah, I mean, like the mentorship that I did with Manami, it was through this really amazing organization called Saffron,
Mm,
who are based in Bristol, but they do DJ courses and sound production and all that sound engineering and like all these different courses like around the UK.
mm,
And I think like their workshops that I did online and the mentorship with Manami were like super instrumental to like giving me like way more skills, knowledge about the industry, and like confidence to just go for stuff. And that's like way easier when you have people in your corner who are
mm.
like rooting for you and helping you. And then it doesn't feel so scary to put yourself out there,
Yeah,
because that's kind of daunting. But if um yeah, and sometimes even just like being able to check something with someone, like,
mm,
is this the best way to approach this? Or like, is it just me that this offer I've gotten for a gig sounds a bit weird? Or like, how would
yeah.
you go about doing this and that? Like, that's been absolutely instrumental in like getting me to where I'm now. And yeah, so grateful. And I'm still a member of Saffron, like doing their workshops all the
Ah,
time, and it's just nice. Yeah,
love that.
they do really great stuff.
Love that. Shout out to Saffron.
Shout
Um,
out to Saffron, yes.
on you said, what would you say is like the weirdest offer you've got for an event? That bad?
Um, I mean, no, I don't really want to like uh
You don't have to say it if you don't.
expose anyone, but
Yeah.
I remember I once had like a gig that was on. It was for a friend of mine. They had
Hmm.
them and their friends. They were doing like a Valentine's Day event, and it was supposed to be like this kind of like sexy singles matchmaking thing. Um, so I was like, okay, this is cool. This is very different to what I normally do, and I normally don't really do like private parties or anything like that. But I was intrigued, and I thought, okay, this is also kind of fun. You can dig into like a whole different side of your music collection. So I was making playlists with like loads of R&B, like
Hmm.
D'Angelo, like just like really leaning into this like saucy, sexy singles kind of vibe. And then got to the event, and the only thing that people wanted to hear the whole time was ABBA. And I
Oh.
had at least like 8 or 9 people come up to me in the space of, it was only like a few hours. Everyone was like, "Do you have any ABBA?" And at one point I found like one edit of like a horrible edit of an ABBA track, and I just played it, and then everyone was like screaming and like dancing along. And as soon as it was done, they were like, "More," and I was like, "That was the only one." And then someone literally looked at me and went like, "Why don't you just play it again?" And I was like, "No, now it's enough." It's like
Yeah.
that
That's
was it didn't turn out at all how I thought it would be, but that's yeah. It's also sometimes just part of the game, I guess.
yeah. I'm trying
People
to.
love ABBA.
People do love ABBA, but like I'm trying to. That's why like on my USB, I've been thinking recently. Do I need like tracks that maybe I might not even like so much, just in case I'm in a situation like that, or would I be selfish and double down and play like the bassiest stuff ever and clear the dance floor?
Yeah, and I think it's a hard one because like ultimately, as like a very empathetic person and someone who
Mm,
like really cares about like that other people are happy,
mm,
that's sometimes a really hard decision to make. And I
yeah.
think if it's like a private event or something like pretty casual and formal, sometimes I'll just think like, whatever, let's go. And I've got like a folder on my USB for like when I DJ'd my friend's wedding. So then all the
Oh,
pop edits come out, and I'm like, make people happy. Like,
yeah.
but if it's like in a club setting or at an event or something where I feel like I'm really representing myself as an artist to a wider audience, then I would probably just stick to my guns and
Yeah.
do what I want to do
Yeah.
and what I came there to do.
Because my impression of the Netherlands is it's quite a techno heavy scene, but also I guess Gabba as well. Um, would you say bass is a popular form of music in the Netherlands? Is it growing or and I
Hmm.
guess based off that as well, do you ever have experiences when you play out that people just want to hear you play techno instead?
Yeah, I would say almost every gig I play, there's like a little guy in the front of the crowd with their phone up, and they've just
Oh,
it's all it says is like hard techno, please. Like this happens all the time. I
I
just ignore that. Um,
I genuinely hate people who do that. I'm like, why are you here? You could have picked a techno event. Like,
that's the thing. There's like so many techno events every night in Amsterdam, and then you found the one party that has more of like a UK
mm,
focus in terms of genres. Like, why are you there?
yeah, yeah,
Um, I think it's really picking up to have like all these other kinds of genres and like more UK flavors in terms of sound. That's really become much more of a thing in the last few years. And if I look at like my favorite DJs from the Netherlands or from the local scene here in Amsterdam, like a lot of them play bass music or
mm,
breaks and that kind of stuff. But it's definitely not like popular in the mainstream at all. And I think sometimes it also really confuses people because I'm from Berlin. So they just assume that you're like a techno princess. And
yeah,
I do love techno sometimes, but that's not really what I do with my own music. Yeah.
yeah. It's yeah. I could talk for ages about the bass scene, to be honest. But I quite like. Do you think there's some beauty in that because the bass scene isn't, say, as big as techno? It kind of keeps the underground almost a bit more precious. Like these raves with like the most amazing crowd and really cool people who are like very into it. Do you think there's a balance there where maybe there is a benefit that, like, I want to see it grow, of course, even more than it has, but is there always a risk when you reach peak saturation that things aren't the same anymore?
Such a good question. I love that. I don't
Yeah.
I don't think I'm like qualified to answer this, but from my own opinion, I kind of know what you mean in
Yeah.
that like it feels nice that there's really it feels like quite a close-knit community. People are very supportive of each other and like um I know like a lot of the producers whose music I play just because of having played their music and then you somehow become friends and I think that's like a nice byproduct of being in like a smaller kind of world,
Mm.
where um you can bump into someone and immediately bond because you know that you have so much in common. Um, at the same time, it's also um, nice when those worlds kind of grow and get shared with a wider audience, like for people who produce music, that's obviously the goal.
Mm.
As a DJ, it's easier to get better bookings if the kind of music you play is sort of popular, I guess. I know for a fact that like there's a lot of festivals or events or clubs in the Netherlands now where I wouldn't get booked just
Mm.
because of it's not a musical fit and that doesn't have anything to do with your skills or you as a person. It's just like I can also see that. I'm like that's yeah, that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there are pros and cons. Sorry, that's a very politician
No, no,
answer to
it's fine, and like I get it. Like my question kind of came about because I was thinking to last week I got to see Ski Mask at Fold, and Fold's one of my favorite clubs in London, and I've been dying to see Ski Mask for ages. Set was 10 out of 10. Crowd was 0 out of 10 to be honest, and it just took
really.
away from the experience, which was like almost more
Yeah,
frustrating because like the set was brilliant, but I just couldn't get immersed into it because
yeah,
he's very popular, and there are a lot of young people there who maybe don't go to many raves, which is fine. Not everyone needs to go to every rave, but I guess because he's a big name at the moment, that it kind of brought in this crowd where it was just weird. Like people were there just to hook up, and I'm like, this is Ski Mask. Like this is an incredible DJ doing it all night long. Like
priorities. You can hook up later.
I know, yeah. Like stop talking to me. I'm listening to the music. Yeah,
Yeah, if Ski Mask is playing, don't even talk to me.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah, no, I think the crowd thing is definitely like the number one thing that can sometimes take away from an experience for me as well, especially when it's uh you get like the feeling that it's not people who are that familiar with going raving. And I don't mean that in like you're not allowed kind of way, but
yeah,
like, when you get people who will just push in front of everyone or like
yep,
they get the elbows like
yep.
out specifically when they dance. And I can sometimes be a bit affected by that where I need to be like, okay, just go somewhere else and like stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
You can still have fun, but
No,
yeah,
this is
I
me.
get that.
Yeah, no, this was me too. I was like, the thing I love about Fold is normally, no matter the crowd, it can be really good because the sound designing side is incredible. You can stand anywhere and hear out the music so perfectly. It was just one of those
Mm,
events where there was just nowhere to stand. but
mm,
how it happens, and it's understandable. Like I remember when I started going to raves, I'm sure maybe I didn't have great rave etiquette or whatever or understand, but it's just one of those things. Sorry, I'm just going off on a tangent on that. But another thing I wanted to ask you was how would you describe your sound in terms of what you play?
so hard. I think like yeah, but from my point of view, I would say a lot of breaks.
Mm.
Break beat and bass is like I guess the foundation. Um, because I lived for so long in England, like I studied there and I worked there. I also have these influences from garage and jungle and drum and bass
Mm.
and two step UK funky, like grime. I got really into playing like dropping grime tracks in the middle of my sets, actually because of Ski Mask, because I
Yeah.
saw him do that at Primavera Sound in Barcelona. No, Sonar. It was Sonar in
Mm.
Barcelona like many years ago. And my jaw dropped to the floor. And that was kind of when I realized you can just mix everything together, and if you do it well, it can like create a real sort of switch in your set, but in
Yeah.
a good way, like without losing people. So I think it's like I'm still kind of trying to figure out my sound. If I look at sets I played early in the year, it's,
Mm.
you know, I played a lot of UKG then, and lots of like edits with grime vocals. And then the last set I played last weekend, oh no, sorry, last on Tuesday, I played at Radio FM, and that was like a very bassy, glitchy, kind of like heavier but distorted kind of set. And I think that's where I want my sound to go.
Yeah.
But it's definitely like a journey of getting there, and it also always changes so much. You
Yeah.
know, like that's why I don't really play out with records, because my music taste can change so fast that I just wouldn't even be able to
Yeah.
like keep up the collection with what I'm listening and what I would want to play out.
Yeah. Don't know how DJ Rom does it, to be honest. But like, it's yeah, it's one of those things as well. I think it's good to let your sound kind of travel in whatever way you want it to travel in, because music's always changing as well. Music's always adapting, and it's good to have that kind of flexibility. And you already answered my next question, which was going to be, what do you want your sound to be? Uh, but no, I love that, and I actually really like the influence that Grime's having in the dance scene at the moment as well. Like at that Ski Mask event, the thing that saved me from the crowd was the other room, which wasn't so busy, where MJK went back to back with Oblig, and they were just playing like,
Mm,
you know, a grimy dubstep set with bits of techno in between, and it just works so
nice.
well.
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
was that set was so good.
yeah. And I think like also with dubstep or like 140, and how you can like mix that with techno, like
Mm,
that was something that before this year I never thought I would do. And then I sort of, yeah, I guess also just fell into it by seeing other people do that. And I mean, there's been so many good like dubsteppy 140
mm,
releases this year that it was like impossible to ignore. And but that's something that I never thought I would like. Not that I didn't think I would do it because it's like strange or whatever, but just, you know, it's crazy how quickly your perception can change. And
yeah,
if you just like let all the influences in, like your horizon will always like end up like broadening itself, and you can just like forever play around with like combining different genres and trying stuff out. And yeah, that's why it's so much fun. I really see the decks as like an instrument, and like, you know, trying to figure out like new ways how to play that.
yeah. I feel that. Like there's just like so much you can do with them in terms of like I think as I told you I'm very new in terms of mixing, but I just want to understand everything I can do to make it as weird as possible and just try random shit and see if it just like comes off, because
Yeah,
like
yeah.
some things you don't expect, it's like how like maybe this could be like really good. Like whenever I see like I'm once again gonna mention Object because he's my favorite, and another one of my favorites. But whenever I go to see his sets, he does such weird things, and it always sounds so good. And I'm just like, how has he done this? How did he even think of
Yeah.
that? Like, yeah,
I think Object, Call Super,
yeah,
CCL, like they're all
ah,
just so good at that. And it's
yeah,
like no set is the same. I've seen them all play so many times,
mm,
like back to back with each other alone.
yeah,
And it's just like uh blows my mind,
yeah,
really. And I think that's because they also just look at music differently. And it's not like, oh, I'm gonna play a bass set today, or I'm gonna play a techno set. You know,
yeah.
it's just I would love to like live in their brains for like a day and just see like what goes on there,
I,
because it's fascinating.
It is. It's like I recently listened to Object's ambient down tempo set from Whole Festival. I wouldn't call it an ambient down tempo set, to be honest, but it was a set with using basically everything except for dance music, and
Mm.
and it was just incredible, like so good. I'm just like, what is going on in that brain to do that? Like, I never thought I would like listen to like a whole really created set without any single dance music and enjoy it just that much. It's incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I need to listen to that. That sounds great.
it's a good one. It's quite intense. It's a good one though. Um, Object and I'm going to digress. I'm going to make one digression. I just have to say, Object and Call Super are going back to back in Berlin tomorrow, and I'm jealous. I'm sad I'm
Ah,
not there. I
no
know,
way.
for like an all
What
day.
venue?
What's it called? Like Backstein Boot or something? The one that's in Spandau.
Oh, Backsteinboot. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, sick. That
I
sounds amazing.
I know, I know. I wish I was there. But okay, yeah, I'll stop digressing before it becomes the Object podcast again. So, like, you've talked about your sound. What do you think the future of music has in store for you? And you don't need an answer to that. Two parts to this question. What do you think it has in store for you? Where do you want kind of your work in music to go?
Yeah, I think I'm still trying to figure that out, to be honest. Like, that's something that I've been thinking a lot about um, now that the year is kind of coming to an
Mm,
end. It's sometimes good to reflect on what you've done and then try and think, okay, where do I actually want to be next year? And like, am I kind of currently doing the right things to
mm,
be on track for that? And I think what I would love to do is just keep pushing the DJ collective um, from the collaborations that we've done. Oh yeah, something that I forgot to mention before is we do like DJ workshops as well. We've collaborated with a few different venues here in the Netherlands where um, they take over like the financial side of it through like funding or just self-funded by them. And
mm.
then the participants can join for free and we teach them like the basics of DJing. And that's something that I enjoyed doing so much because I remember how scared and confused I was when I started, and how like, sometimes all it takes is for someone to like take an hour or like 2 hours of their time, help you out, and then you're already at a point where you can kind of pursue that in your own time with a little bit more knowledge and a little bit more confidence. Um, I really want to like keep doing that. I think the fact that we get approached by venues and radio stations to do these kind of collaborations and also to host or like to program lineups for them means that they one realize there's a need for that, and that we're doing a good enough job that they want us to come back and like do this kind of stuff. And I would love to keep doing that. The girls that I run the DJ collective with, they're amazing. We all have so much fun together. It doesn't feel like work, it's just,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely like gonna keep pushing Levi loads. And then I think just as like a DJ myself, I've got one gig coming up in January in Paris, which I'm really excited about. It's like the first time that I'm going to play in France. And that's like with people that I met who run a DJ collective there. And
Mm,
we met through DJing and through like the fact that we like the same music and do kind of similar things. And I think those kind of connections feel super special because it's like so surprising how you can like become friends with someone that lives in a totally different country to you, like in a different side of the world, just because you have this shared passion. So
yeah.
I want to like keep doing things where I can connect with people in that kind of way. And if it's like, getting to play more abroad, that would be super fun.
Mm,
I would love to go and play more in Manchester and or like in the UK, because
yeah.
that's kind of where a lot of my music journey also started, or where it was so influenced from. Maybe like a dream one day would be to play in my hometown in Berlin, but
Mm,
that's probably every DJ's dream. So
yeah.
yeah, just gonna keep going, keep doing what I love doing. I think I read this like really nice quote from Mia Koden in that feature interview that she just did,
Yeah.
where she was talking about building her own little creative world, and
Yeah.
when I read that, I saw so many people share it
I
because
shared
I think
it.
yeah, it rings true with so many people.
I
And
know,
when
and
I
it's
read it,
so true.
I was instantly like, yes, like
Yeah.
I don't care how big this gets. It doesn't need to get huge, but if I can just keep doing this and like have fun and meet nice people and
Mm.
create connections with people that way, like that's amazing.
Because
I'm
that
happy.
because that is the thing about it all. It's like when you kind of look at it in terms of what you're achieving, it's like it might be the simplest answer, but it's like if I'm just having a good time along every step of the way and really enjoying it day to day, kind of what more do you need? Isn't that the kind of the point with what we why we do stuff? Like it's simple, but it's powerful.
Yeah. I think like you, I know for a fact that like you and I think this way, and a lot of the people we're around think that way too,
Mm.
but I don't think that everyone thinks like that. And what I've also seen a lot here in Amsterdam is that people start DJing and then they are super impatient and they just want to
Mm.
like, they think they've done like one set somewhere and then they want to just play everywhere, and they'll kind of be quite demanding to bookers about like getting
Mm.
gigs. And it's like, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
It's like, I always think like for me, the three keys to success in like a music career are like passion. Like you really have to be passionate. You have to
Mm.
care about it. If you're just doing it to become famous or whatever, that's probably not going to work. So you have to
Yeah.
be passionate, but also you have to be super prepared. So you have to be willing to put in the time and the effort like behind the scenes, and then you have to be patient.
Yeah.
And that's kind of super key. You can't like expect things to happen super fast, and you have to have the right intentions when you do it. And then I think when those things are in place, then it'll always work out. But
Mm.
I see a lot of like, especially young people that like, obviously now everyone's a DJ, and like on Instagram or TikTok, you just see
Mm.
like all these, everyone's sharing stuff. Like it's hard to stand out. But if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, I think it becomes obvious pretty quickly,
Yeah.
and it doesn't send the right message, I would
Y-
say.
Yeah, because I sometimes see it where I see someone's sound change so fast and it's just kind of changed to the mainstream, I guess, of what is popular now. Like I've seen people who start off in bass and now all they're playing is poppy techno edits because it's popular, and it kind of gets to a point sometimes where it's like, but to be fair, like we all have different aims, I guess. If you actually want it as a career that and your focus is paying getting money to pay the bills, then fair enough, I guess. If you want to be booked more, but yeah, at the same time, I don't think I'd ever want to lose the love for it. I'd always want to play music I enjoy.
Yeah, yeah. And I think just, not getting ahead of yourself. Like it's totally fine to
Mm.
be super ambitious, and if people want to like really make a career out of it, like that's of course totally fine, and that's super possible as well. But don't like try to skip all the important steps in between, like
Yeah.
take the time to like get to know your music, understand what you're doing, and how things work, and that you can't just go in expecting things from everyone. And especially um like I used to date someone who was also a DJ, and they just thought because they like were like decent at DJing that they would get booked everywhere, and they would like get super mad when they would get like
Mm.
rejection emails, or most of the time you just don't get a response.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, like show me like what you're sending out, like what kind of emails or like what kind of requests are you sending out.
Mm.
And it was just like they were not offering anything in return. It was just like they just expected people to be like, yes, oh my god, you're amazing, come play. And it's like, no, you have to really offer something unique, and you have
Yeah.
to show them why you want to be part of that community and that space. And that person was also not doing, like any of their own nights, not really engaging much
Mm.
in the with the local music scene at all, and still get expecting to just get bookings everywhere. And I think that's not how it works. Like you have to you have to give back, and like be, if you are part of a community, then it becomes way easier because there's a reason why you're there already.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I had a lot of events in London recently. There's a lot of nice, like, small base events happening at the moment.
Mm.
And whenever I go to these events, I always see, like, same people in the crowd. And then sometimes I go to the events and they're playing, but they're always there, like, no matter if
Yeah.
they're playing or not, just because they want to be there. Like, I went to an event last night, and yesterday was, like, pretty much, like, Christmas office Christmas party day in all of England, where
Yeah.
everyone was having their Christmas parties. So I went in, good event. There's only like 5 people there, including me, and we all just really loved. Like everyone was there for the right reason, though. It was still really fun, even though there was barely anyone there. because
Mm.
like the music was great, the DJs were still having fun. Like imagine seeing DJs playing to a crowd of five and they're just so happy and smiling. It's like really beautiful to see. Um,
Nice, yeah.
yeah,
I want to go out with you in London. We have to make this happen.
we'll make it happen. We can like
Yeah,
we can plan around like a very good event, but also go to all the small, really fun stuff that happens in London too.
I
Like
would love that. Yeah.
like next week, I'm actually gonna go see a collective called Bass Angels do their first event in London that I
Oh,
found
nice.
out about yesterday. It's a Flinter bass collective, and I just love London because so many little small things like this just pop up, and
Yeah.
yeah.
My friend Janetta she lives in Groningen, but she
Mm.
actually recorded a mix for them
Oh
for their
really?
mix series.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh wow, that's
Her
that
her DJ name is Zaza, like
Zaza.
ZSA. She did a mix for them. That's how I found them.
Oh oh sweet.
Yeah, they it looks like they're doing really cool stuff.
Yeah yeah, I'm excited to go see it.
Been checking them out.
Yeah, yeah. But kind of like talking, I guess, about, community and being part of it. In the music industry, do you think there are, I guess, sometimes some people say it can be a bit too much, feeling like you have to go to lots of different events? I guess, like for me, it's like I like going to the events, so I'm not even playing out, so I'm happy to be there. But I think there are other things where people struggle with. Like I've met people who say struggle with sobriety, and like there is a culture with music, I guess, with alcohol and substances, which can be maybe not so great. Do you think there's anything that kind of needs to shift in the dynamics? I say I only ask this because the people I know who are are sober people say sometimes they really struggle in these communities.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah. I think it's yeah, like going out and like, going to see other people's events and like concepts and programs they've developed. That's like such a big part of like networking, but
Mm,
also like your continuous musical education. But I
mm,
don't think that it should ever be forced. And
yeah.
if you don't feel like it, don't go.
Mm,
Like you're not like I think I used to do that a lot in my like early 20s where I would like force myself to go to something no matter what just because I said yes to it, and then
yeah.
you're not really having a good time and you're
No.
maybe thinking about like when I can go home or whatever. And I think um here in Amsterdam it's a lot easier because everything's within like a bikeable distance. So
Mm,
I try to go to a lot of things. I think I'm just so interested in so many things. And there's like so many of my friends that have their own DJ collectives or like little organizations that they're part of where they do really, really, really cool
mm,
stuff. And there's always too much happening to actually go see it all. Um, but I think what I learned is like it's totally okay to say no and stay
yeah.
home. And I'm like old enough now that I don't have FOMO all the time.
Mm,
Like on Saturday, there's an amazing event with like the crack-free sound system here, and I'm gonna be at my grandma's house. And I just decided that's how it's gonna be, and it's
yeah.
okay. It's
Because
there's always gonna be more
there's
stuff
there's
happening.
there's always more. The DJs always come back. It's it's fine. Although I'm not gonna lie, I was sick on Saturday and I had to miss an event which had like Ehua, D Bridge, Madam X, Emma, Mala as well. I'm still
That's sick. Yeah.
I'm still sad I wasn't there. I'm still very sad about that, but it's fine. It will happen again. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I get that. I
yeah,
think I sometimes also struggle a bit with like, when I have weekends where I play
mm,
gigs, then I'm obviously out that weekend. And
yeah,
I now try not to do like two in one weekend anymore because that was just for me personally stretching my energy a bit.
yeah,
And then just yeah, trying to balance it out. If I have a lot of gigs, I go out and like socialize a bit less, or I'll do less like nights out just to keep up some kind of balance, because I notice like it's all fun and games until you're exhausted, and
yeah,
that really doesn't help your creativity at all. I think that's probably like being tired and exhausted is one of the biggest killers for your like all the creative stuff that could be happening in your
yeah,
brain. And yeah,
yeah.
it's I think it's like sometimes I if I play a lot of gigs, I'll just see my friends less because I can't then also do loads of social things in the days before or the day
Mm.
after. I just need to like stay at home and recharge my little social battery a bit.
It's true, and it's like I think the best piece of advice I got given not long ago was just don't burn out. If you burn out, you're just not going to enjoy it as much. Like the body can only handle so much. You've got to be kind to it. But
Yeah.
given,
And I love like having like a cheeky drink when I'm out. But if you feel like you really want to like go see something, but you're worried about like feeling hungover or
mm,
feeling like shit the whole rest of the weekend, just don't drink, you
yeah,
know. Just like knock back a few club mates and dance your heart out for 2 hours and then go home. Like
yeah,
that's it's possible. Sometimes you forget that that option is there.
I know you do, and I often do because I really like beer. So I go out and I'm like, oh, thirsty. I really love a beer. Then I have one beer. I'm
Yeah.
like, that was really nice. I'll have another one.
Yeah.
It,
As a German, I can relate to that
yeah,
statement a lot.
yep, yep. But given you started touching on balance, I guess, how do you balance everything? Because you're doing so much. You run a collective, you've got your regular day job as well, which occupies a lot of time. You're playing gigs as well. Correct me if I'm wrong as well. Did you once tell me that you're also looking to learn to produce music, or are you learning?
Yes, I have Ableton on my laptop.
Nice.
Um, I'm still waiting for the right moment to like get into that because yeah, right now the free time is a bit limited.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think that's like a something that I really want to like start playing around with more next year.
yeah,
Um, and I think yeah, sometimes it is a bit hard to do it all. And I think I just try to always sort of plan in like enough breaks for myself. So, you know, sometimes you'll just have like
mm,
a busy period where like randomly you'll get like a lot of really cool offers for gigs and then you don't want to say no to anything. But then I just make sure that that's only for like a
mm,
short period of time. And then maybe I have like a month afterwards where I don't play at all. And then you can just like chill, but also have like that time that you need to like dig for music and do all your
yeah.
other things like behind the scenes. Um, yeah, if anyone has tips on how to manage all these things, please let me know.
Anyone
I
wants?
think it's like it has to be fun, you know,
Yeah,
like with my day job with work, I get up, I do the work, and luckily it's the kind of company where you're not expected to work like over hours.
yeah.
We don't work like later than I don't know, like 6 p.m. or whatever. So it's like you when I'm working in my day job, I'm just really focused. I'm like, okay, this is all my focus. I don't even look at my phone,
Mm,
like trying to limit the, you know, ways where you could get distracted or whatever. And then as soon as I'm done, that's when then I'll just completely switch my focus. Um, yeah.
yeah. No,
It is
absolutely.
hard. It
It
is
is.
hard, but it's like more fun that way.
Yeah, it is hard. Like, I started this podcast to figure out how people do it. I'm not sure if I'm closer to the answer yet. Maybe I know a little bit more. My main takeaway at
if
the
we
moment. Sorry, go ahead.
if we if we find out the answer, does that mean the podcast's done and you can go home?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Podcast ends if we
The,
figure it out. It's how it goes.
the
Um,
golden tip.
yeah, and before my battery runs out, because it's actually going to run out,
Oh,
what's one piece of advice you got when you wish you got when you were starting out?
oh, yeah. Something I've been thinking a lot about recently is like with the DJ collective, for example, and also just um how I think I operate as a person is that I always
Mm,
want to like share opportunities and like bring in other people and like do stuff together because that's just always been more fun for me than
mm,
doing something like alone and like being successful on your own. Like if you can do it, like lift people up with you along the way, that's really nice.
yeah.
But this year I had a lot of experiences where I kind of felt like I noticed some people were taking advantage of that, and
Mm,
I noticed too late that they were in it for like their own kind of selfish or like self-motivated like gain, and not for like the greater good of creating like a network of friends or people that want to achieve cool things together. And that's been like kind of tough and like sad lesson to learn, because I wish that people weren't like that.
Mm.
But yeah, I think just, like be open to people, and like have this kind of collaborative mindset, but just sometimes keep your guard up a bit. And somehow I'm still trying to learn this, but like just trying to figure out quicker, like, are people in it for the right reasons, or are they just like trying to piggyback off this hard work that we've put in for years, and they're
Yeah.
trying to find like a quick way in.
Yeah, and it's kind of is I guess it's just you see it across many facets, not only music, but it can be very
Yeah.
human nature to take the quickest, easiest route to kind of get what you want. So totally feel you on
Yeah, I
that.
think that really applies to like so many areas of
Yeah,
life. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. But no, I think I'm actually out of questions. I think that's quite a nice note to end on. But it has been really, really lovely talking to you today. I could honestly go on for a long time, but I think we've recorded like an hour and 20, hour and 30 maybe.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah,
It's
that's
got
quite a lot.
it's gone fast. Actually, I think yeah, maybe an hour 20. I can't remember how long we were dealing with audio issues for at the start.
Yeah, true.
All my fault. All my fault. But yeah, before we kind of I guess sign off, do you have anything you want to shout out? Can be anything. Can be your collective. Can be also where to find you, or any artists you currently really love.
Oh my God, now I feel overwhelmed. Um, hmm,
Can start
uh,
off with where people can find you and your
yes,
mixes and your
you can
profile.
find me on Instagram and on SoundCloud for music, at Ina Laberlina. Um, and the DJ collective that I co-run is called Lavai, which
Yeah.
is Lawaai. And then maybe I want to shout out Radio FM in Amsterdam. We have broadcasts every Tuesday and Wednesday. Amazing artists, all kinds of genres. Probably a lot of people may have heard of it before, but yeah, that's something close to my heart. Maybe go check that out as well.
Nice, nice. And as a quick round question, um, right now, if you had to pick anyone, you don't have to answer this question if you don't want to. Who's your favorite artist you'd drop everything to go see right now? If you had to pick one.
Oh my God. I am really into like some of the like Dutch producers at the
Mm.
moment. We've got Techman, who's
Mm.
sick, French too, amazing.
French 2 is
Um,
so amazing.
yeah, like
Yeah.
just feels like putting your head in like a washing machine full of sound.
I,
It's so good. And when he works together with Bastian Benjamin,
mm.
they do like this kind of like dubsteppy techno.
Oh, really? I need to.
Really, really amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they did like they have like a side project with Alberta Balsam, and
Hmm.
I think a fourth person whose name I can't remember. And they're called like A plus or something like that.
Yeah.
And they did a live set at Draaimolen this year in the chapel, and that was just mind-blowingly good.
Oh, and
Yeah, so I'm really into like um, kind of what the Dutch scene has to
yeah.
offer. Maybe a night I want to shout out Pardon. They're really sick.
Mm.
Um, One of the like local DJs that I think is gonna like explode, Mallory. She's
Mm.
amazing. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
that's enough shout outs now.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about Mallory. I gave a follow just to listen to some
Ah,
mixes.
Queen, a
Yeah,
constant like source of inspiration in terms of music and
yeah,
vibes, and yeah.
yeah. But no, love those shout outs and yeah, great interview. Great interviewing you today and take care, Ina.
Yeah, it was really nice. Thanks for inviting me.
No worries. Okay, that's a wrap. I'm gonna do one quick thing, which is I'm gonna plug my charger in and quickly take my camera off. Actually,
Okay.
I need to hit stop recording. I
Okay.
I realized I didn't
Yeah, I'll
have my
stop
chart.
my audio.